Hi, everyone. Welcome to Everything Life and Real Estate. I'm Linda McKissack.
And I'm Dana Gentry. Linda, I forgot to ask, where are you today?
I'm in Texas.
Oh, good. Okay.
I head to Montana on Sunday real quick to check on the house and then back so that we can go to mega camp. But yeah.
Yep.
So I want to read this to you because this hit me so hard. I get Joe Polish's newsletter. So first of all, I want to tell you, Joe Polish sends out a newsletter every year. I mean, every month. I think it's every month, or maybe it's every quarter. Anyway, and it's he is a direct marketer. Like he's always learned the direct marketing, and he's learned from some of the best. But
He's so
anyway,
good.
he's so good. Sometimes I don't read the newsletter and sometimes I do. And on the front it says, "Hey, if you enjoy these things, send the $197." Well, I've never sent the $197 because I feel like it's going to make me more obligated to have to read the newsletter every time, and I don't. But I happened to open it this time, so I think I'm going to have to send him the $197. But it just goes to show that reciprocity and beholdenness works. Okay. So, but I want to
Wait,
read the
it's voluntary? The $197 is voluntary?
voluntary. Yes.
Wow.
So guess what though? Reciprocity and beholdenness is going to cause you to send the money eventually.
Yeah, totally.
I've been a holdout for a while, so some people probably went in sent theirs in sooner. But we just did an episode on ADD and all the
Yep.
issues around that. So I want part of our issue as entrepreneurs, especially ADHD entrepreneurs, is we pile on too much stuff.
Yeah.
So this article really hit me hard. So I want to read it to you, and then I'd love your thoughts and ideas.
Okay.
So, first of all, Joe Polish I'm so jealous. He took a year sabbatical. It makes me excited and tremble on the same message because he took a whole year. His clients did the meetings. His team did everything.
Wow.
I mean, I'm just so jealous. But anyway, but I'm also terrified at the thought of it. So
Yeah.
he had this happened during the time while he was on his sabbatical. But this is what he wrote in his newsletter: "How a ghost town, a peg leg, and a few snakes taught me the truth about ownership, opportunity, and living in on your own terms." Wait, let me make sure that's the right one. Uh, yes, it is. Okay. All right. So, in this month's newsletter, I want to talk about something that sounds ridiculous at first: buying a ghost town, and why it might be the perfect metaphor for how entrepreneurs think, act, and sometimes sabotage themselves. Years ago, I heard this line: "If you need a room, don't buy a hotel." And it stuck with me. It usually is pretty good advice because as entrepreneurs, we have a tendency to buy, build, or commit to way more than we actually need. And then what happens? We're stuck with the maintenance, the responsibility, the overhead, and all the mental energy that comes with it. I thought about that a lot when we decided to buy Cleator, Cleator, the ghost town. This is a never ending project, and it forced me to ask myself, do I really need to own this thing, or do I just want to use it? Because if you just want to use a ghost town, maybe let someone else deal with the damn ghost town, he said, right? This way of thinking isn't new for me because back in 2013, I bought a big house up in Camelback Mountain. I had it for 5 years. And by the time I sold it in 2018, I realized something really important. I never actually owned that house. That house owned me. It was like a computer program running in the background of my brain, always consuming energy, always distracting me. And that's how a lot of success ends up feeling if you're not careful. When I share stories or videos about Cleater, it's not because I want to show off and say, "Hey, look what we did." That's not it at all. The ghost town is just a backdrop, a canvas, a symbol for something deeper. We even created a site, what'syourcleater.com. Cleater became the focusing function, a creative sandbox, a canvas, a space to do something wild. And at the time, that's exactly what I needed. Here's the thing, owning and restoring a ghost town, that sounds like a lot of work, and it is, but somehow it's been easier than owning the house I had up on the Camelback Mountain. That house, beautiful, scenic, prestigious, but it was the wrong house, the wrong mountain, and I still get these little recall moments when I drive by it thinking, maybe I shouldn't have sold it. That's what I call euphoric recall, remembering the good feelings from something painful while forgetting the parts that nearly broke you.
Mm,
Maybe you've had a relationship like that where the highs were high, but it was toxic as hell. But then
mm,
you ruminate about it and fantasize and remember the good parts, but somehow forget the bad parts. That's how that house felt. And Cleater, as wild as it is, has been a better alignment because this time I'm surrounded by the right people. You've probably heard the saying, there's no such thing as a good business with bad partners. And it's true. The only reason this crazy ghost town adventure has worked is because we built it in with the right alignment. No rigid plan, just a broad stroke vision and the willingness to let it evolve. And one step led to another, then another, and another. I couldn't have done this without the people around me. I remember my partner in Cleator, Jason Campbell, telling us in Genius Network that he was trying to get photos of the Pony Express riders who came through Cleator, like legit cowboys on horses, camped out in the town overnight. But our King Global team, the mining crew, was out until midnight dealing with water logistics, army trucks, huge trucks, setting up infrastructure. It was chaos. We opened the store soft opening style, set up a credit card terminal, threw up some stuff on the shelves. One of the guys asked, "What about giving people change?" Jason told him. He said, "Just put up a sign that says, if you want change, we suggest prayer and fasting." Welcome, welcome to startup life, Cleator style. We're making it up as we go. Every step, every win, every piece of this was born out of improvisation, creativity, and trust. Choose your race and who you run it with. Before we bought Cleator, brought in a friend named Ben Hootie to take a look. He's a partner in the project now. Without involving him, we may have not purchased the town. But he's also the guy who got us into the mining business. Ben's been involved in thousands of acres of real estate in Canada, numerous residential and commercial projects, etc. Super smart guy and Genius Network member. We drove up to Cleator together in this big Mercedes, which, by the way, I do not recommend on those roads. And after looking around, he said, "The ship you never want to board is a partnership." And he's right, because bad partnerships will sink you faster than any market crash. But the right ones can help you do something impossible. If you've ever been in a business partnership, then you already know there are good ones and there are the ones you never want to live through again. In the early stages of business, it's easy to fall into partnerships just to get something off the ground. I see realtors do this all the time.
All the time. Yeah.
You assume the other person will do the stuff. Meanwhile, they think you're going to do the stuff. And what starts out as optimistic collaboration turns into confusion, resentment, and flat out chaos. The more partners involved, the more complex things become. Everyone brings their own ideas, expectation, priorities, and when those aren't aligned, things break. When I first shared the vision for Cleator with Ben, I was just riffing, talking about all the weird and wild things I wanted to do in that ghost town. And after listening to it all, Ben said something unexpected. "Can I partner with you guys?"
Mhm.
It led to in a new direction, strategic byproducts and more momentum than we could have ever imagined. Nick Peterson has a line I love. He says, "You never win a race you don't want to be in." And that's the filter I want to give you here, because everything you commit to and every deal and every project and every relationship costs you time, attention, money, effort, and energy. So ask yourself, is this a race I actually want to run? Um, so he said, "Is your heart actually in it?" Think about someone like Mark Tarbell, who won Iron Chef. His race is restaurants, hospitality, wine. That's his zone of genius. He's been in the game for over 30 years. He's demanding. It's nonstop, but it's the race he chooses to be in, and he's exceptional at it. You probably have your own version of that race. You choose something most people wouldn't, and you're still running, even when it's hard, even when things break, even when you're tired, because deep down you actually like the challenge, because the right races are worth it. So follow what's worth it. There's a sign in my office I point to during Genius Network meeting that says, "Hell yeah, oh yeah," and then FUCK no, 13 times. The truth is, you don't hate challenges, you thrive on it. That's why you're still in the game. The key is, don't take on challenges that are rigid to make you lose. Don't commit to partnerships that drain you. Don't enter races that don't light you up. People ask, "Why would you buy a ghost town?" My answer was simple: because we could. It wasn't a reckless move. We talked about it, walked the land, thought it through. And even with all the potential complexity, the alignment and energy made it worth doing. And here's something else: I see everything through the lens of marketing, because marketing isn't just about selling stuff. Marketing is how we present, package, and position anything: a product, a service, a message, even a damn ghost town.
Mhm.
What's interesting is a lot of marketing in the world is almost always driven by the same thing: inadequacy, FOMO, indigestion, and the danger of more.
Yeah.
You're not thin enough, rich enough, successful enough. You don't have the right car, the right house, the right whatever. You're certainly being told you're missing this, you're not doing that, you need to do more of this. But what if, just maybe, you already have something that's working? And the real question is, how do you enjoy it more? How do you leverage it better? FOMO drives everything. It's wired into us. And I sit in all kinds of rooms, 12-step meetings, nature retreats, entrepreneurial gatherings, where people are either trying to heal or trying to grow. Entrepreneurial ambition is one of my favorite things in the world. It's also one of the most dangerous. I've always tried to stuff as much into my brain as humanly possible. But like Keith Cunningham says, more entrepreneurs die from indigestion than starvation. We
Mm,
take on too much. We chase too many things. And when you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. You need more customers, right? But do you? Or do you need better customers or a handful of the right clients, the kind you build relationships with? Even the language matters. A customer is someone that buys from you, a client is someone you have a relationship with. One part of me is excited about the future AI, innovation, acceleration. And the other part of me is constantly asking, do I even need any of this? Think we find our center somewhere in the tension between ambition and surrender. So I've been thinking a lot about what's not going to change. What do I want to stay the same? And what do I actually want to change? And most importantly, what even matters? Why you need space to think and the willingness to let go. During my sabbatical, I came across a documentary on Meow Wolf, this wild immersion art installation in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Here's the story. A bunch of artists convinced George R. Martin, yes, the Game of Thrones guy, to buy an abandoned bowling alley, and then they turned it into an interactive, multi-dimensional art experience. It's now one of the top tourist attractions in Santa Fe and a multi-billion-dollar business.
wow.
It's a perfect example of what can happen when creative people are given the right conditions and the right amount of space to do something bold. Around the same time, I got a random text from Jason Campbell. You want to buy a ghost town? Ha ha ha. First, it was just funny because he was actually joking, but he sent it to me, but something about it stuck. My mind was in a different place. I had space to think clearly, and the idea hit me in a way it never would have. If I had been buried in meetings, busyness, sometimes the best ideas and the most transformational opportunities only show up when your brain finally has room to receive them.
Yeah.
Our brain can be both our greatest ally and enemy, often multiple times a day. If you've ever read ADHD 2.0 by Dr. Edward Hollowell, it's worth picking up. In chapter 2, he talks about the default mode network, DMN, and how entrepreneurs often live in this push pull between distraction and obsession. One moment you're scattered, the next you're completely locked in. He describes how the entrepreneurial brain can either be your servant or your master. And when it becomes your master, things can get dark. When Jason sent me this Ghost Town article, I was in the middle of my sabbatical. The timing mattered. Had I been in a reactive, overscheduled I would have missed it entirely. I wouldn't have built a deeper relationship with Sherry. I wouldn't have cleared the space to take something new on. I wouldn't have been open to it. As my dear friend and 100K member Dan Sullivan says, entrepreneurs that are too tightly scheduled cannot transform themselves. That's a line I keep coming back to because it's true. The more you fill every available hour and the less room there is for any real breakthrough, here's what I've learned. In order to have a breakthrough, you've got to break something. I keep coming back to my quote, which is also on the wall at Genius Network headquarters, that says, be willing to destroy anything in your life that's not excellent. Evan Carmichael introduced me to a great YouTuber named Eddie Pinero, Pinero. And during a dinner we were having, he said, that's a powerful line, but how do you do it? And the answer I gave him is this: you don't have to do it, you just have to be willing. So
Mm,
here's what I want you to consider, both personally and professionally. Would you be willing to do something you've never done before, something you've avoided or been afraid of, but know deep down is calling to you? Would you be willing to let go of something that's holding you back, even if it's something that once served you, even if it's familiar or comfortable? Would you be willing to entertain the idea of letting it go, getting rid of it, and shutting the door on it? This is about willingness, not recklessness. You don't have to touch everything, but you do have to be open to change if you want transformation. Sometimes the biggest breakthroughs start with the smallest shift in thinking.
wow.
I know it. I mean,
I feel like my whole I'm questioning my whole life after that after that newsletter.
I'm thinking, God, we need to go on a sabbatical.
I mean, wow. I
Wow.
mean, first of all, will you forward me that? Because that's very
Yeah.
good.
Well, how many times though do we, and I always try to say, what are some of the greatest minds that I hang around that I respect? What are
Yeah.
they all saying in common? And
Yeah.
think about John Maxwell. What was his quote? I think we used it on the ADHD podcast we just did, but where he talks about, I mean, every single one of them talk about having space. You've got
That's
to
it.
have space.
Linda, it's so not coincidental but wild that we're talking about this, because that has been the thing I have heard over and over and over for the last month. And it's like on every Zoom I've been on, in every mastermind that I've been a part of, John just did this whole Zoom for us around the 4 principles to basically, actually, I might even have them in this book. Yeah. To help you focus and to be able to have like more white space and more creative space, because we get stuck in this rat race. And really, the reason is probably because of what he said, which we already know, but a lot of it is FOMO. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just like it does drive everything. Um, but I mean, I wrote down so much stuff. Like, I could, as you were reading that, first of all, I felt like I was in story time. I could look back, like different parts of my life were like flashing up into my brain at different things that when you read. I mean, it's just crazy. Like, I love what you said. Oh my gosh, that's probably the best, but you never win a race that you don't want to be in. Um,
Yes.
and is this a race that you really want to run? Or like, are we
Yeah.
running it because we feel like we have to? I mean, I don't know. There's just a lot to unpack in that.
Well, and I think because we're getting into a world of so much information, I
Yep.
think it's getting harder and harder to find that white space that we need.
Yeah.
Um, and when you talked about the part with AI, do I even need it? Meaning, is it going to add more complexity? And we, in our episode on ADHD, we talk about that is our enemy. Complexities does not serve
Yeah.
us with ADHD well, because we don't handle it well,
Yeah.
right? You know, so I don't know, that just hit me like a ton of bricks. I very
Me
seldom sit down
too.
and read the whole thing, but I read that and thought, oh my gosh, and I thought, my God, I remember when he owned that house and how miserable he was with it.
Yeah.
Wow. So I just think sometimes our biggest challenge is how do we move away from so much and
Yeah.
get so clear about something that we are excited about winning that race in and playing that game.
But you know what he ended with? And I don't know, that might have given me like confirmation on something, but like, are you willing to destroy anything in your life that's not excellent? Or just sometimes I think like that. I had like full body cold chills when you were reading that, because I was thinking sometimes, majority of the time, the answer is no. Because at least in my mind, I'm like, but I've built this for 19 years, or I've given so much into it. Or I hear like Gary Keller say, you need to keep going deeper. You know what I mean? Like,
And that's exactly right. When I was just said this to somebody the other day, when I really study very successful people, they don't do a million things. They do one thing really, really well. And I'm like, okay, so it's the catch 22.
yeah.
Why do I want to chase a million things?
Mm-hmm.
Could just go super deep on one thing, right? And
But I think what he's saying in this email, like, yeah, we should go deep on one or two or three things. No, I'm just kidding. We should go. We should go. However, like the two huge words that I wrote down and circled, and this is actually part of my keynote, but were alignment and the right who's or partners. And,
yes,
I made a commitment to myself last year. And I mean, you actually know an example of this in my life, but I made a commitment to myself last year that if it was not the right people, then the answer was no for me. No matter how bad I wanted to do it, no matter how much I thought I could win at it, no
yeah,
matter how much FOMO I had, no matter how much like I just wanted to commit to something new, if it wasn't the right who's or the right partners, the answer is no for me.
yeah.
Because every single time I have screwed myself and I've been miserable. Exactly what he said. Even if we were winning per se, if it wasn't with the right people, I wasn't happy.
Well,
Um,
I think the reason that is so exhilarating and fun for him, what he's doing there, is because he, either by accident or whatever, he got the right people
he loves
around
his
him.
partners. Yeah.
The partners are moving it along and making it fun. It's when
Yeah.
you don't have the right people helping you and you're trying to do it. I think if
Yeah.
he had done this all by himself, it would have been a miserable thing.
Yeah. Totally.
But having the right people with the right unique abilities around him, because the guy that he talks about, that first gave him the quote about partnership and then asked to be the partner, he
Yeah.
had probably all the knowledge about the bigger things that they're doing,
Yeah.
right? So, I don't know. I could probably go back and reread that 4 or 5 times.
Me too. I know. I want you to send that to me because I want to reread it and like break it apart and think about different parts of it. I mean, that is very good. And also, oh my gosh, and also just the fact that had he not been on a sabbatical in a slower, not
He would have missed the
distracted,
opportunity.
he would have missed the whole thing.
Yes, so true. And I think, oh gosh, I think that we when you keep getting a message, the
Yeah.
same message so many different ways, and I think you and I keep getting the same message about
Yep.
reflection and taking the
Yep.
time and creating the white space. I don't know. I thought, gosh, here it is again.
Do you
It's
think that we don't do it because this is like a group therapy session?
yes.
We didn't wait. Where's an adult to your adult?
We need a therapist on this episode with us.
Do you think that we don't do that because our innate achievement, like the achievement that we have so much inside of us just like wants us to like keep achieving, keep achieving, keep, you know what I mean? I don't know.
I don't know, but sometimes being quiet and being still is scary. You know what I
Oh yeah,
mean?
definitely. Yeah.
And it feels so slow. It feels like you're wasting time. Remember, as a driver, your number one fear is your time being
Wasted time.
wasted or someone taking advantage of you.
Yep.
So you could feel like wasted time. And so until you and I mean, I know that had to be hard for him to take that sabbatical. It had to be. He had to be at such a bad place that
Yeah.
he needed to know that I gotta let it all fall apart if I need to. And by the way, he could have lost his whole Genius Network group. I mean, anything could have happened.
I
He
almost
wouldn't
wonder,
know
I
it.
wondered that when you said that, like, I wonder if, you know how we always say, like, you'll make a change when the pain is great enough? I wonder
Yes.
if, like, the pain was great enough for him that he was like, okay, I'm out for a year. Like,
Yeah.
I've got to figure something out.
And if it all goes away, I remember being in the Genius Network when he was talking about it. It was at a place where if I blow this whole thing up, so what?
Yeah.
And remember he talked about the willingness to
Yep.
blow it all up if that's what it takes.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I,
He
I
said
think
you don't even have to do it. It's just, are you willing to?
right.
And I think that that is so huge because I think a lot of times you probably don't have to blow it up. It's just, are you even willing to, or are you grasping so tightly onto it that you're not even willing, you're not even willing to?
Yeah, and I think that's where he was. He knew what he had wasn't right. It wasn't fulfilling. It was the way it was. It needed to be done differently or whatever. But he had to be willing to let it all fall apart if that's what it took for him to be gone
Yeah.
for a year to to get where he needed to get. Anyway, it was super powerful. So I thought of you immediately because I know we all have the same issues, and especially it goes along with our last guest that we just recorded for one of our podcasts on.
Yeah, that's just so good. That's almost like we need to go sit on the beach and read that and just think for a couple hours.
Yeah, yeah. Here we are. We can't take a year, but we'll try to find a couple hours.
You can find an afternoon, surely.
That's awesome. Okay, well, remember if you
That
have
was
not
so good. That
yeah,
was so good. I can't wait for Adam to read that.
okay, I'll send it to you. So
Okay.
just remember, if you have not hit the subscribe button, please go ahead and do that now. And the greatest compliment you can pay Dana and I is two things. One, pass this podcast along to anybody that you think would enjoy the conversations we have. And number two, give us a review so that we move up into people's feed on their podcast. And if you have a challenge, an opportunity, a guest, or a topic that you want us to talk about on the podcast, be sure and reach out to us at info@everything life and real estate. Dana, I guess I'll see you at Mega Camp.
Yes, I will. See you then.